Hello, everyone. I am Leasia Monique Johnson. I am a junior finance major at the Southern University in Agricultural and Mechanical College in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And I am so happy and grateful to be the moderator for the impact of esports at HBCUs.
Well, I'll take it next. You know what I'm saying? I'll jump in, you know what I mean? So, it's the one and only hip hop gamer, Hot 97, Logitech G. It's an honor to be here. You know what I'm saying? HBCU life in the building, Esports Summit. Like I said, it's an honor to be here. Little background on me. My grandmom's, rest in peace. My grandma, she taught me how to play video games when I was 4 years old. And I've been playing video games all my life. When I turned 14, I started making music because I grew up with hip hop. So that's how you get the hip hop gamer fusion. And you're going to learn a lot more about me on this panel. So let's get it popping. Yo, one love.
I probably should have went first. I don't know if I can match that energy. But no, my name is Ryan Johnson, the founder of Cxmmunity in the HBCU Esports League. So just really excited to be here this afternoon with everyone.
And then I'll go next. I'm Rod Chappell. I'm a general manager and commissioner of the YARD, HBCU Esports Alliance, as well as CEO of HBCU Direct Gaming.
Hey, I'm Isiah Reese, and I am the CEO and co-founder of Blaze Fire Games Esports. Pleasure to be here every day. And meet everyone today. Pretty exciting.
Okay, it's nice to meet you all. My first question for everyone is, what is your definition of the esports industry, and what are you doing to make an impact today?
Okay, the definition of the esports industry is, competing in games. Like, that's what esports is. Like, the idea of you playing games, competing against each other for sport. That's what esports is as a definition. And what was the second part of your question?
And what are you doing to make an impact today?
Oh, and well, me personally, what I want to do to make an impact today is I actually have a program called Gaming and Guidance. So we use gaming the same way that my grandma's taught me. We use gaming as a way to bring people in to develop their character as they move to do whatever they want to do in the careers of esports, because there's so many different career paths. So to give you an example of what I mean, we have an assembly where we have esports battles. And after the esport battle, we have a panel discussion. The cool thing about this is that we take kids that a lot of times aren't cool with one another, or they have bad situations at their house, like, family structure ain't right, but they love gaming. So we bring them together to battle it out, and then they get cheered on, by the peers in the audience and everything like that. And then we start to have real dialogue, real conversations about things that's going on. And then we have a final battle where they get to win their prizes and things of that nature. And what in my study, what I've learned when it comes to that is more kids, they get excited and they get more confident to do what they love to do. And they develop their character in a way where they understand relationships are important. And they take this into the professional world, into esports. So whether they want to be a pro gamer, whether they want to be a marketer, or they want to do video, whatever it is, this program, beyond just games, we develop the character. So that's the whole idea of gaming and guidance. And I've seen that shape out into impacting esports, because now we building better relationships with people besides just doing good at a job. So that's what I've been doing.
That's really amazing. Mr. Ryan, you can go next.
For sure. So I think Hip Hop Gamer kind of hit it on the head with the definition. But as far as like our impact is very similar. So starting more so K through 12, even before we get to HBCUs, we partner with underserved like charter schools primarily in cities that are prominent to HBCUs, and we actually provide them like career readiness around esports and gaming, and expose students to professionals that are working within the space. So some of our like career partners are like the 100 Thieves or Evil Geniuses, and they'll have like some of their some of their colleagues and or senior leadership actually mentoring 8th, 9th 10th grade students within the Atlanta area that are interested within careers in gaming. And then at the collegiate level, we basically, very similar to Rod and what Isiah are doing, work with several HBCUs and actually organize competitive gameplay. So then giving the students a platform for them to showcase their talents and skills, and then reward them with scholarship dollars to continue, one, either paying for their tuition, room and board, food, or in the sense that some students want a refund, they simply just want to hold on to a refund. But for us, like, our whole thing is providing a platform, being advocates, and then connecting industry partners to these schools that have the resources, the finances, and a lot of the thought leadership to actually solve a lot of the problems that we talk about when it comes to disparities within technology and gaming specifically.
That is amazing. Mr. Rod, you can take it next.
Okay. Yeah, but I'll just build on what Hip Hop Gamer and Ryan said. You know, the esports definition is absolutely competition amongst folks. We have 4 pillars within the yard. Those are competition, so that's the regular gameplay, competing against each other. Education, so there's curriculum development and teaching and training, what esports is, what gaming is. Then research, so game development, game design, building music into game, building tech entrepreneurs for the future, and then pipelines that K through 12, or really 8 through 12, making sure that students understand what's happening on HBCU campuses, making sure there are communities within the gaming and esports space on the campuses, and continue to have sustainability with students building and going through HBCUs. At the end of it, we want jobs and careers and entrepreneurs that are bringing the future into this space as well.
Okay, and then Mr. Isiah.
You know, I think part of the reason of that definition and hearing everything that's really been said really well about. So I think I took that question as, like, what's your definition of the esports industry? And we look at this like this is an extravaganza. Extravaganza, you know, by definition means like this freedom of style, and it's an experience, right? So when you start thinking about, there are several different types of experiences: intellectual, social, emotional, religious. But then when you think about types of experiences, contact, patient, understanding, strategy, wisdom, that is literally like what we're about with the Sonic Boom or all of the Marching 101. So in my mind, the definition of esports is like this extravaganza. Put all that mix in there, then it leads to, now you can define what you want to deliver. And what we try to look at that and say, well, listen, if we're truly going to talk this career pathway, then let's lead this in a way that we can actually measure and have results. Because here's my theory. If we can't go to Silicon Valley, then bring Silicon Valley to us. Well, in order to do that, then if you're really a good school at what you are, like, for example, there are only 10 HBCUs that are certified in nursing. So if we keep saying health and wellness, then we shouldn't go to that particular HBCU and try to say, oh, you should launch esports and broadcasting. Why? So our impact is going to those schools and targeting the messaging of, here's what you're good at. Now let's lead to that. And from that, this spring, we'll have 250 students from various HBCUs that will receive CEU credits on their degrees from our curriculum, because we just did just that. Don't be something you're not good at. So our impact is really good. We just placed 75 kids in internships starting this summer. Never have I heard anyone say, we targeted and this is what we wanted. And I think that's good. Like Ryan and Rod take a piece of here, and before we know it, we've turned it into Silicon Valley South. Which I've already trademarked, thank you.
Nice.
Okay, my next question is for Mr. Ryan and Mr. Rod. What are the challenges at HBCU esports organizations experiencing, and what are y'all doing to fix it?
I guess I could start, but I would say, I guess it really is all about perspective, right? I would say one of the biggest challenges that we run into is that you're talking about a new industry, a new sport at an institution during like a global pandemic. So first and foremost, in a lot of cases, esports and gaming is not at the top of everyone's priority list when it comes to implementing new programs or figuring out how to get students back. So I would say one of the biggest challenges was really trying to educate during a global health crisis, but then also showcasing the benefits and added value of what esports would bring to an institution during a global crisis. So kind of like Isiah mentioned, like I think our biggest focus, the two words I would probably lean on is scholarships and internships. The ability then to showcase what the industry could bring to students when traditional sports aren't as accessible, or when they can't gather on the yard and actually spend time with one another. What are ways that students can actually connect at a super high level? But I think once you got a couple of schools, one that I would say Southern is easily one of them. And then I look at Johnson C. Smith and what they're doing in Charlotte, North Carolina. And then a lot of schools are able to see the positive notoriety that is coming along with being a part of the HBCU, I'm sorry, the esports industry, but as an HBCU, I think was one of the most unique experiences. And so I would say one of our biggest challenges at first was the students were super, super excited to participate, but it was one of the first times that they've actually participated in gaming in a strategic and competitive and intentional manner. So then getting kids to show up on time and making sure that their cameras were on and making sure that they had their Twitch VOD saved so that way we could go back and make any edits that needed to be. So like it was more of the nuanced things that you are familiar with. I'm sure Hip Hop Gamer, you mentioned it, right? Like you're a content creator. So like there's things that as a content creator over time that you're used to doing that we had to then try and educate and create in real time with some of the students that we're trying to help service. So I wouldn't say that there were any challenges outside of the fact that we're just trying to introduce new ideas and new concepts to an ecosystem just during a very unique period in the world's history.
All right, so I'll go. When you're talking to HBCUs and you're talking about sports, esports, sports, everything is competing against the academic portion of it, and so making sure that you are attaching the academic piece of it, I think, has been one of the things that has been successful but difficult to explain because other PWIs are doing this. They have minors, going to have majors. I think there's even some master's programs coming. And so being able to show what's the reason you're doing the esports part of it, to show the jobs and careers are going to come out of this on the backside. So it is an academic underlay, even though they're playing games. and the schools know the students are competing in their dorm rooms at home, but they don't understand how that competition can show up in a career format. And so I think the difficulty has been laying out what that continuum is, and then showing them this is the future either way. So either you're ready for it or you're not, but the students that are coming in looking at your schools are gamers. They're playing, they're competing, they're learning, even more so than the college students. And then being able to show where that works has been what's been successful for us. Now, Ryan's right. Doing this in the midst of a pandemic, oh my God. Getting the students there on time, being able to say, hey, we're going to start at 8 and having them there at 7:45. That's kind of gone out of the window. So we are being very fluid in being able to showcase at the times we say we're going to be traditional marketing, and then working behind the scenes with the students to get them to come and get the scholarships that are readily available for them.
I can piggyback off that. Rod led into it with the piece on the academic side. So our core business was always academics, micro-credentialing. So this wasn't new to our world, right? So as far as our company, the only thing we did then was Rod kind of alluded to, the challenge was what was said earlier about getting an understanding and saying, how do you take this from this? So what we did, we kind of corralled a focus group of about 10 HBCUs. And we walked all of the provosts. Again, this is our game. So provost through how you need to qualify this. This fall, 5 of those 10, with all that body work, will launch a minors, bachelor's, and the message I received today, 3 will launch a master's in esports. All HBCUs. Now imagine, and that was because of aligning credits with the Department of Ed, with the provost, with the faculty senate. I'm talking about a year of just saying, if you do this, I mean, we're lucky. We had a lot of schools who already had majors in that, like Ohio State, who we brought on as consultants. And here we are. And there's only one school in 2022 that will launch a PhD. HBCU will launch a PhD in esports and gaming. We cannot wait until that announcement comes out. But this fall, 5 HBCUs will have full credit degrees. And with our support of our electives, I told them that announcement needs to be singing to let PWIs and everybody know we're in the game now. So, and that's what we have to do, make noise. And the other 5 will launch in the spring of 2022. That's impact. Like you got, because that's on where we help everybody on this panel, right? Because like, okay, we know they can do that. They can do that. But at the end of the day, I can honestly say now, those companies have no reason not to walk on those campuses because this is what you said you wanted. So here it is.
Right.
Again, bring them to us.
Okay, my next question is for Hip Hop Gamer. So you have brands and endorsements. How can brands start to support HBCUs, and what does HBCUs have to do so to attract brands?
Oh, that's a great question. So first off, like it all depends on the brand that you like looking to do something with, so it can make sense and it could be a good fit. So I'll give you a great example of what I'm talking about, right? So in my situation, you know, my brand, who I am, is Hip Hop Gamer. So Hot 97 is the #1 brand in hip hop. You know what I'm saying? Logitech G, that's another one of the biggest, you know, partners that I have. It's like gaming peripherals, technology and stuff like that. It all fits in line with who I am. So when people see it on the outside looking in, it's the realest thing you're going to see. It makes sense. It's authentic. And the cool thing about it, before the deal even happened, I was already rocking with it, using the products, talking about it anyway. So my experience is what led me to doing the deal. And then on top of that, you got to be creative. So before Logitech G existed, it was, you know, just Logitech. And then they created Logitech G, which made the G brand, which is the gaming brand. So in the hood, in hip hop, everybody want to be a G. Or if you Snoop Dogg, Snoop D-O-double-G, it's a culture already with that G name, you know what I'm saying, being gangster and stuff. So what I did was I said, hey, let's take that G, the G in your brand, and take gangster, like how we talk about it in the hood, and make it where something is positive. So that's when the whole, you know, that sparked the idea of the gaming and guidance and all these other things to do positive things in the community with what we love and what we have a passion for. So now from a brand standpoint, it was bigger than just a brand selling some products and promotion. It became something that actually changed people's lives and made a real impact. And it was a partnership. So I'm more into partnerships than sponsorships, to be honest. Because when you see me, you see them. When you see them, you see me, and we move together as a unit. Just like how Rockefeller, Jay-Z, Damon Dash did back in the day. It's the same, you know, idea and the same concept. So when it comes to HBCUs, if your college don't have an esports program at all, right, and you ain't about that life, right, but then you see how it's working for other people or whatever, and then you're just trying to catch up and get on board because you see it's working for other people and people coming to their school, so you feel you should have it. It ain't gonna work because it's not built off anything genuine. You understand? I think in order for HBCU to properly attract endemic or non-endemic brands when it comes to esports and stuff like that, is to actually see who are the powerful people in the world of esports and bring them to your campus and let them teach you something and let them and get off of them a position to run it. So that's going to attract authentic relationships and authentic deals to help grow your school, grow this program, and get more people to come to your school. I think one of the biggest problems that we see in esports, HBCUs and everything is that you got people in a high position, like a position of power, that don't know what they're doing, but they're in a position of power to fund or get something started. So instead of bringing people on board, they just try to extract information and then try to do it themselves and without respecting the culture and what it's really about, without doing the research. Because you gotta understand, just like hip hop is not just rap, it's a lifestyle. Same thing with gaming, it's a lifestyle. Esports is not new. People say it's new because it's new to them. Esports is not new. If you do your research and you look at Walter Day back in the 80s with Twin Galaxies, you see esports. That was like, you had single player games that was considered esports because you was battling for high scores making money. So that's what I'm saying. Like, if you don't know the history or know these things, then brands that really know what's up is not going, they can't even relate to you because you don't even know what you're getting into. You just getting into it because you see it's working for somebody else. And that's the cool thing right now. So at the end of the day, I think all HBCUs that's serious about esports and serious about brands really buying into what they got, you need to research the people that's actually making it happen, that's building that foundation, so you can have them come to your school. And instead of just extracting information from them, give them a position of power, give them a budget so they can run it and create that partnership. And now you could benefit off of what they bring to your school. That's it.
I think Hip Hop Gamer is right. The thing is, our schools, when we try to separate esports and gaming as if like, oh, and you know, Ryan mentioned it's new. It was, you know, this thing was like, you know, you got athletic directors, everybody thought sports. But Hip Hop Gamer is right with this. Only thing, when we sat down with our schools and partners and even non-HBCUs and said, listen, if you were like, who's the company you're using now, financial institution that's printing all your checks? Wells Fargo. Got it. If you know that, then this is who we will give the contract to process all of the transactions for your gaming stuff. At that point, we have then who the schools are already dealing with. I said, if your chief advancement officer is already, to Hip Hop Gamers, already out there drawing these, I'm like, don't forget who you were. There's a reason why you have Wells Fargo as your main bank. I'm sorry, how much did Wells Fargo give you last year? So take that and now rope that into the discussion with, here's another program we want you to support, because we all know one of the key areas in esports is a financial analyst. You're addressing that. I think everyone's trying to make this thing seem different. The chief advancement officer role, to me, was no different than their role when we just added this other component. You asking the same question, you're now actually giving that company something of more value of why they should be participating with you. And if they don't, do like we did with other schools, put it back at RFP. 3 of the schools, we have ATMs replacing other ones, just like that. Be intentional. And it's simple.
All right, my next question is for Rod and Isiah. You have both been in the HBCU space for years. What needs to be done to educate presidents and chancellors about the benefits of esports programs?
Yeah. You want to go first? I'll go first.
Yeah, go ahead. This is going to be a funny one.
Yeah. I mean, they're doing a lot, right? So I would say it takes a village. So even if you're informing the presidents, they're going to have folks that are actually going to run the day-to-day. You can't expect the presidents to run the day-to-day. And so making sure that it fits within the president's agenda is key there. So I would say stand in front of them, making sure they understand what's happening in the industry and giving them a purpose to bring this to their constituents. So those are the students and the faculty, but they're also their trustees, because they're answering to someone as well. So the purpose behind what you're doing is going to be important for them, just for them to even hear what you're saying. And I would still say within an academic piece on an HBCU's campus, that's going to be first. They just triggering esports is going to be tougher than talking about the academic aspect of it in order to get them engaged. So in the middle of a pandemic, nothing is normal. So I'm just going to tell you that right now. So we can say all the things are normal. Everybody's on video and all the like. When we get to showcase these things in reality, then I think they will get it even more. And then bringing the academic part of it is there too.
Yeah, I mean, Rod's correct. I mean, my message is always simple to when we're speaking with the presidents. I'm here to help you address 3 things: recruit, reclaim, retain. recruit, reclaim, retain. And if we're doing that, because at the end of the day, their salaries, whether they're losing their jobs or keeping their jobs, longevity is based on enrollment. And if you're addressing the one thing of enrollment, you can't even get to all the other ancillary things that are out there. So we try to address the one thing that they know that, and that's filling seats. But the only difference is helping them understand that filling the seats is now virtual and should have been virtual. As we've shared with everyone, what new normal are you running back to? If anything, this has taught us was that our broadband need to be up speed. Right now, when I think about the 94 million we need just for HBCUs on broadband, just for broadband on a separate server, that's a whole different conversation that we're having now with, the legislative bodies. Stop giving them money to everyone and pull it out. So having them understand that you will now need to not focus on just building a student center, but a revenue generating place that then leads to what Rod's talking about, academics and like you can't even, but the only thing, if enrollment is 1,600 and you're supposed to be 2,500, our president won't even listen to you. So we address the recruit, reclaim, retain, and showing them that this is another way that you can drive the one thing that you're not in the game. We didn't say you had to have a major. You at least need to be able to talk about that you have or offering experience with this, and that will drive enrollment. When we've seen that, it works. It's working at PWIs, and now it's obviously working at the schools when they're making these announcements about we're competitively different. That's when I think that's when we can really address those presidents. Talk anything else, they'll ignore you. Recruit, reclaim, retain. Student.
Yeah, I'll add something to what Isiah's saying about the student piece of it, because they are really the clients at the end of the day. So yeah. It has to be also something that the students will want to do. We've been, I've been on campuses for the last 20 some odd years, and we used to do something called the BET Black College Tour. And after a few years, I didn't realize it. So the schools were utilizing the BET Black College Tour for recruiting. Right. And they were saying, these are the things that come to our campuses. And I even saw it in a brochure. That's how I even found out about that it was happening. And so the bringing in the future students is very key. The current students need to accept it and be a part of it. And I think if you have both parts of it, then the presidents will absolutely listen to you. Correct.
Can I say something real quick, if y'all don't mind? I wanted to jump in real quick. So I just want to say this one thing, because I think it's very interesting on both parts with Isiah and Rod. So one of the things that I'll use my experience back in 2000, right? Now, I went to school. I went to New York City Tech, right, to study computer programming, because at one point I was interested in programming to make games, right? And when I went there, this is what I'm going there for, period. And they gave me so much other stuff that I wasn't there for, but it was a package deal. So you had to have this reading and writing, all this other stuff. I just came out of high school, yo. Like I just want to learn how to you know what I'm saying? So one of the problems I think that we see still today is this old school way of thinking in school, period. Like, if I'm someone that want to go to a school for esports and I want to learn this and do that and take my career, whatever, that's what I'm there for. And I think there's too much thinking on whether it's the president's side, on the school side, where they like, yeah, we want you to come here for esports. We got a great program, but let me throw this at you too, because we need this as well. We need you to have this as well as this in order for it to work. I just think that they have to rethink the way they approach bringing people to their school, instead of trying to find a way to use esports as a hustle to get somebody to come to your school when you really want to give them something else. I just think that's real underhanded. I think it's dirty. I think they need to recreate the way their business model works as a school, as a curriculum overall, because if that infrastructure don't change in terms of the business model of school, then esports will just be something cool to utilize to hook somebody, but they're not going to ever have anything properly to give you in terms of what you need and what you want to get out of the school, because the infrastructure isn't built to give you the value that you're looking for.
I mean,
That's just, I'm just keeping it real.
No, I mean, you're hitting the point that I made earlier, which is great. And I'm glad you brought it back up. There's a way of like you running this journey, right? This marathon, this sprint. And that's what we're saying is that though the journey of 12 months seemed like it was hard for these 10 schools, I'm going to say, and 5 that are launching, what was exactly what you said. The hardest discussion we had, our entire academic team and everyone, was showing provosts and presidents like, listen, I know you say you have 32 majors, but you're only really good at this. This is where we're going to track you at. So when these announcements come out, everyone's going to say, yep, that's what that school is known for. Yep, that's what that, like, exactly. And that's, you will come to that because you were already coming to that as a student for what you just mentioned. Hey, that school's got a great cybersecurity program. That school's got a great mastering health program. Parks and Rec, it just aligned. Stay in alignment. So you're exactly, I'm coming there, and that was the mindset change. And was it hard? Yes. But now as they're looking back at it now, they can't believe it that even with the applications that are coming now, because they did a little soft release, white, black, Hispanic, like in what did I say? Enrollment.
Gotcha.
That's all they care about. So great point. I'm glad we focused on that because in the end, see, I'm coming there because that's a cybersecurity esports degree I'm getting. Because that school is known for that.
Got you.
Yeah, that well, I'll say this before we jump off this subject. A lot of HBCUs are liberal arts colleges and universities. And what does liberal mean? That means they want you to have the diversity and learn not only a specialized skill, but they want you to learn all of the other things that they think you're going to need in life that you may not know you're going to need in life.
Right.
So the tug of war there is our specialized schools, technical schools, community colleges, even formal schools that have, certain technological aspects, and then the liberal arts schools. So that's going to be the battle when you're talking about presidents and their trustees and their alumni of I'm changing this. And that is a drastic change, although the future is going to probably be more like that than liberal. That transition will be interesting.
Like I've shared with them, you have to reimagine education, and more importantly, reimagine the delivery of education. And if you keep that in your mindset that we share with those leaders, I don't need you to think about it. We just need you to realize there are people working for you, like Rod said, those others say, helping them, let us help them understand we're here to help you reimagine the delivery of education in this field that truly is the next Facebook, and you won't see it again if you don't do it now.
Okay, my last question for everyone is, if HBCUs start taking ownership in their programs, where do you see it in the next 5 years?
Ryan hadn't talked in a while. Go ahead, Ryan. You can start.
And no, I was actually I realized I was sitting here on mute for a little bit. But no. So I think, honestly speaking, I think it's a really big, I think the revenue and impact opportunities come from twofold. One is curriculum and program creation at these schools that then lead students to future jobs and accessibility. But I also think the other side of that is going to be on the media side, from like sponsorships and rev. So what we've seen, because one of the things that we've been focused on, and I think it's cool. I'll just say this real quick, like Isiah, John, and myself, like we used to chop it up like around this time, like a year ago, like all the time. So it was really dope to hear a lot of the progress there. And like one of our biggest focuses for us has been actually building spaces on campuses for students to then convene. Because to Isiah's point is that these labs are necessary and they're nice to have, but the overall thing that we're looking to fix is the infrastructure of the schools themselves, to provide accessibility not only for the esports team, but for the men's and women's dorm, for the cafeteria, for the weight room, for the student center, for the whole nine. So how we look at it with the league is providing brand awareness and viewership for these programs. So with our league that we run, is actually, it just came to a conclusion a couple of weeks ago, but we're reaching nearly 800,000 people a week in a live stream manner. And so what we're able to do with that is then introduce, whether it's different corporate partners or different media influencers or entertainers, to the world of HBCUs. And now it's pairing the message, the impact, and the value of these schools with modern day figures, i.e. a lot of the people that are coming into the space, the Michael B. Jordans of the world, the Chris Pauls of the world, to then go and doing these mutual campaigns that lead to financial gains, not only for the entertainer or the entity, but for the schools themselves. So that's why, again, for us, how we structured communities as a 501c3 nonprofit, our league is the same way. So when we take in sponsorship dollars, every school that competes within the league sees a portion of that revenue as well. So I think it's, first and foremost, I heard it mentioned on this call a couple of times, is like finding that lane and like being good at what you do. So like the thing that I say that we do pretty well is connecting with corporate brands, introducing them to schools, and then helping them essentially find their avenues to supporting HBCUs in a creative, unique, and engaging way. Because I studied sports in grad school. So how I look at the collegiate HBCU scene is in like 2 or 3 phases, depending on like how I feel that day. But where I feel like where we are as community in the phase 1 is we want every HBCU that is willing or needs one to have a varsity program, but we're viewing ourselves, for lack of better words, as like the AAU, right? Mm-hmm. So like, because a lot of schools aren't in the position where they can sign off on varsity programs, we treat ourselves like if me and my 5 boys at Oakwood wanted to go play in the basketball league, like we're the LA Fitness Rec League right now. And we're doing that because once they see traction, they see momentum, they see kids winning scholarships, they see their names on media rights, it starts a fuel to the fire that then Rod's working on certain things, Isiah's working, Hip Hop Gamer, and then this wave begins of momentum. So just really excited to see where everything is going right now in the space. We have some pretty cool things that we'll be working on this summer. Like we're working with Chris Paul and his HBCU Con. We're going to be building about 8 more HBCU centers this year. My co-founder, Chris, went to North Carolina Central. We're going to be doing North Carolina Central's lab on the 5th and the 6th of April. So super excited, just to continue seeing the momentum in the space and all the collective efforts that are going towards making this a great industry for the students to live. Again, I'll say this, I'm an HBCU student. I graduated 6 years ago. Esports was not in the conversation. I would argue that my experience would have been like, and my friend's experience could have been so much more different had these programs been instituted like while we were actively in college. So just super grateful and blessed to be able to be one of the ones that are actually like giving back in real time.
Yeah, I mean, I think Ryan's making a point about, when and answering that question about, and you got to really think about where it's going, like like he mentioned, where it was and where it's headed, right? And similar to them, we, Blaze Fire Game, we quietly now, have 5 Blaze Fire Game innovation centers. But Ryan touched on something that we've really hampered on. We've made all of ours. We have 12 more that a partner just committed to their funding from that, right? Nice, the build out that's forthcoming. What we've done with our contracts, so we've made sure that each one of those that we currently have that will be announcing, we selected an alum from that school and they are owner operators like a Chick-fil-A of that. And the school is also a third owner. So when we come in, the school owns it, an alum owns it. And we've now brought those where the media partners, everyone now, every time something is done at that school, or not only have we created generational wealth, we set up the trust accounts with that owner operator alum. If he's married or she's married, whatever, then goes to the next one in their family. You see, as we build these 5, that's the one that's coming at 1,500, 2,000 square feet. There's one in Memphis we're putting up that's 10,000 square feet. Just saw the plans yesterday. And another one in Memphis, we just secured 30,000 square feet right on Beale Street. So we'll have 2. But there will be funding, Lemoyne, Lane, Tennessee State, all because we're making them part owners of that. Anything that happens from a high school renting it out, it goes to a restricted endowment. My point is, when we made them owner operators, the game changed. Ancillary revenue that will offset when you're not getting your boiler money from the state, and generational wealth. Every media deal, we walk them through that. Make sure that they understand, here's where you receive 12 cents every time that computer is turned on per minute. And here's where it's funding. So when we leverage our nonprofits, similar to Ryan's group, We bring ours to our nonprofit. We help those schools set up their own nonprofit, and it goes into a restricted fund. And now they have a different understanding because they are owner operators. And that is the big difference that we've been saying, we don't want it all. We already got the credentials on your computer. We're winning once you own it. And so I'm thankful to our partners there, Chick-fil-A and everybody who helped us walk through their model, and we just duplicated that. And we took their money too.
All right, I'll go next because I want Hip Hop Gamer to close this out. So the 5 years from now, I would say that the exposure and amplification of HBCUs will be even more than we've seen over the last year. Because I've been in this space over 20 years, and since the last year, there's not been this as much amplification of HBCUs and what they're doing in this space. I think esports is going to follow that portion of it. So from an HBCU perspective, this is about culture, this is about the arts, this is about the academics. So it is full circle. It is not just about the gameplay. And I think within 5 years, we will see the esports and gaming space be a broader, bigger, and take some market share away from some of the other things that are happening on the campuses, because it has the ability to infiltrate into the computer science, into the marketing, into the mass media and all those things. So I think we will see that and be able to amplify. I think also, which I think is key, students will have by then figured out the infrastructure that gets them the path to coming into the school, participating while they're in the school, and then being in the career industry. Or being entrepreneurs in this space. And I think that's key, that continuum that says, okay, we've built it, follow it, here comes the next generation, follow it, we'll be there. And I think 5 years is a good guide to say when that could be happening. And all of this kind of comes to life.
Nah, that's amazing, yo. All y'all is amazing. So, all right, so to wrap it up, to close it out, you know what I'm saying? Here's what I would like to say in terms of the next 5 years, HBCU, the impact I think is going to have. One of the key things, and that's with everything, just naturally with a human, period, is cool factor. You always want to be a part of something that's cool, that's moving, that's entertaining, that we could relate to. I think HBCU is going to bring a different level of excitement, a different level of entertainment, a different level of financial stability, a different level of entrepreneurship and growth to any school that really, really adopts it wholeheartedly. That's the first thing. The second thing I'm gonna say, and this is very important, and I'm gonna say this from now, there's a lot of HBCUs that I think internally should start investing in themselves, in their own school, to build something out. I think right now, and I see this with plenty of companies, they wait to see if they could get a sponsorship deal or try to sell something to then start and implement the program. And then the problem is the program is built on the fact that this sponsor is there. And let's say next year that sponsor decides to leave or whatever. Now your program is gone because now there's no funding because you're too dependent. I think that we need to start now where things is more internally invested. So with a sponsor or without a sponsor, it's going to happen with or without you. And the more you see us grow, the more you're going to call us and want to be a part of it, like how Isiah was talking about earlier, bringing them to you. So I think we need to see that more collectively across the board instead of waiting for an opportunity to start something and then it falls apart because who you brought in don't want to be a part of it no more. That's two. And the last thing and the third thing that I would say is when it comes to HBCUs overall, for the sake of the growth of getting more people to be a part of it and champion it, I really think that there needs to be more like apps and games and things of that nature that's built like within HBCUs. I'll give you an example of what I mean, right? Let's say you playing Roblox, or let's say you're playing Call of Duty or whatever it is. Like these HBCUs need to have their brands inside games. So whether you know about a school or you don't know about a school, you can discover what's there through what you love to do anyway. So imagine you playing a lot of these esports titles and you're learning about the colleges and stuff and the opportunities within actually playing the game. So it can't just be one way discoverability. It has to be vice versa. And I think that would be the last thing I would say, because if you do that now, it's over. And I'll give you an example of what I mean. I think Misfits Gaming right now, they got their team jerseys in Call of Duty, but they're already branded by, I think, Chappell, if I'm not mistaken. So just like when you watching the NBA and you see like Disney on a jersey because it's branded like that or whatever, we need to see that again. Imagine you looking at an HBCU, you know what I'm saying, out Louisiana or something like that, Baton Rouge, like you was talking about, Isiah. Let's say you playing Call of Duty and you see your school represented in the game. It's like, yo, y'all in the game? Yo, I didn't even know. Yo, what it's gonna make you do. It's gonna make you look at the spot. It's gonna make you look at the actual school. So everything comes around full circle. So that's the last thing I would say. HBCUs got to be present in game as well.
I love that. I love that. But again, I am Cxmmunity Johnson, and I want to thank each and every one of you for your helpful insight on the impact of esports at HBCUs. On behalf of Southern University Law Center, we really do appreciate you all.
Oh, thank you for having us.
Thank
You already know what it
Yeah.
is, man. It's the one and only hip hop gamer, Hot 97 Logitech G, HBCU, baby. We love you. We out of here.
Sir. All right.
I'll
See
see
y'all.
y'all.
All right, take care.